And this was the time, Sean, where there was knives everywhere then. It was, we ran the next end. The Screws was terrified to go in them spurs. There was knives plotted everywhere. Fred Lowe grabbed his arm and the other guy went straight in. Bang, 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 bang. Took him straight out. This black guy had his guts in his hands, Sean. He's killed 3 people. Not more dangerous than Charlie Bronson, who hasn't killed anyone, you would say. And of course, he'll never get out again. He's just one of these guys. But to see a hit squad come like that, Sean, in, do that, out, gone, is really something. You're like, you know what I mean? I've seen the skinniest, smallest, little unassuming guy, as we've said earlier, be the most dangerous guy out of everyone. I mean, you learn that quickly in them places, right? Of course, I knew Charlie very well. I was in the cages with Charlie. When they built Woodhill Close Supervision Centre, they spent $15 million on that. It was based on Marion in the States that has the most disruptive prisoners that they couldn't manage. Charlie was the 8th selected for that. I was the 9th. Very, very notorious, Australian bank robber, but he'd killed a few people as well. He was a nasty bit of work. Even his old woman he killed, Sean, right? But when the SAS realised who I was, they tried to pull me back in to nut me. He says it was only because I got out like that, because they wanted a clean sheet in there. Toto Reno and all that. These are the big names, right? These guys back in the day. There's a really bad mafia war over there in the 80s. The ones who play by the rules, they don't get anything. It's like me. They get all the hard stuff. You don't get anything. There's other people who are out there meant to be this and that. They're having 10, 20-year runs.
Thanks for watching the podcast. Here's a word from our sponsor, Atlas VPN. Right now, I'm going to change my phone so that I am registered out of America. Let's go with Dallas, Texas, shall we? Just like that, I can now access everything online that our American friends can access, whereas previously I was blocked. And we've got the best VPN deal on the market. Enjoy the most affordable online protection for just $1.83 a month, which is just over £1. And 3 months extra with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Protect unlimited devices. Atlas VPN protects all your devices with a single subscription. You can grab this summer deal now because Atlas VPN Premium is just $1.83 a month, plus 3 months extra. And with a 30-day money-back guarantee, protect your privacy and get many benefits of Atlas VPN for the ridiculously low price. You can take this deal by clicking the link in the video description below on YouTube. Be quick, as it's a limited time offer. Thanks for checking out our sponsor. Back to the podcast. Here we go. You're in for a dark and dangerous journey today into the most deadly prisoners that Stephen Gillen ever met during his many years in the UK system. We're talking people you know, we're talking people you don't know. Some of the ones you know, Charles Bronson, Essex Boys, we've got the Brinks-Mat robbers, we've got IRA, and there's many that you don't know, and the crimes are off the scale. If you didn't see part 1 with Stephen, it's got almost 200,000 views. Chet Sandy was in the mix. It was absolute mayhem. We're going to have more concrete, solid stories this time. And all of Stephen's links are in the description box below this video, including tickets to the show in Kingston, London, coming up on September the 2nd, and also links to his book, but new book. We're going to get straight into the stories, and we're going to start out with the story of Fred Lowe. So huge thank you for coming on, Stephen. And this Fred Lowe character, what was the deal with him? Because I've never heard of him.
Firstly, Sean, lovely to be back with you. Love the work that you're doing. Love the last interview. Lots happened since then, Sean, so we'll go straight into it. Fred Lowe, he was a very unique character. He looked kind of noncy, Sean, dare I say it. little milk bottle glasses, unassuming guy. But this guy had murdered 3 people in the system, right? Watch your back with this guy, I'm telling you. One story I'm going to say about, and there are a few of these stories about all of the people I can go through, and there's going to be more, of course, on the tour. But one really meaty one about Fred Lowe was in Long Lartin. In the middle 90s, you know, when I was doing my 17 years there as a Cat A. So there was a black guy on the ones there, you know, Long Lartin, it's in Spurs, very dark little Spurs. They're like, you know, 1 up, 2 down. He was playing his music really, really loud, not really loud. So the people upstairs, you know, they come down. They said, "Look, mate, do you mind turning that down?" So, you know, he come out, didn't he? This, that, all the rest of it. So they said, "All right, mate, you know, no worries." Anyway, he kept on doing it. Sean, right? Respect's a big thing in them places, as you know. And this was the time, Sean, where there was knives everywhere then. It was, you know, we ran the next end. You know, the Screws was terrified to go in them Spurs. There was knives plotted everywhere, right, in them days. So I kept on with the music. The guy come back down again, who was a friend of Fred Lowe's, used to have it with him, and said, "Look, mate, really, that music, can you turn the music down?" So, you know, come out the black guy, big knife, blood, this, that, waving it around, right? So the guy said, "All right, mate, no worries," right? Of course, the next time they come down, Sean, they'd plotted it all up. And Fred Lowe, being an unassuming killer that he is, they knew that this guy had come out and make a big scene with the knives like he did before. So they got Fred Lowe to go the other side of his cell. Then they went to the cell. They got him out of the cell, again, about the music, you know, and said something. Of course, the guy come out, didn't it, with the knife. "What, you want to have it, this, that, and the other?" Fred Lowe was there, of course. So, you know, as soon as he put his hand up, this black guy, he was a dread Sean as well, right? And he was a fit lump. He was a physical guy. Fred Lowe grabbed his arm, and the other guy went straight in. Bang, 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 bang. You know, took him straight out. This black guy had his guts in his hands, Sean. So, you know, he was teabagged, really. Just like that. It happened so fast, this stuff, Sean, right? Went into a cell, the black guy, to, you know, he's holding his guts in. You know, and he died in there, Sean. You know, died in there, dead. That was it. They closed the door, whatever. You know, and he died in there, the guy.
Was there any consequences for Fred Lowe for doing that?
Yeah, there was. You see, the thing about there was 2 of them, right? You know, and I'm not mentioning the other guy's name, right? But it was about, you know, regardless of what people think, there's too many people who will grass in prison or even out here, Sean. So, of course, it went back what it was and what it weren't. So it wasn't long, you know, a few months after, you know, they was nicked for that murder, and then there was a trial. Couple of years after, Fred Lowe was given another life for that murder. So that was his 3rd murder inside. Of course, he's one of the most dangerous prisoners in the system. You know, he's killed 3 people. A lot more dangerous than Charlie Bronson, Sean, who hasn't killed anyone, you would say. And of course, he'll never get out again. He's just one of these guys.
And if you passed Fred Lowe on the street, would you not think twice?
You really wouldn't, Sean. He's that kind of guy. And that's the reason why I put Fred. There are so many of these guys. But he really is unique in that sense. He actually looks like a sex offender, Sean. He's got the big, thick milk bottle glasses, really quietly spoken, beard, you know, unassuming, kind of fidgety, quiet guy in the corner. Looks like a 2 and 8. He really does, you know. So yeah, you'd never think it. Very, very dangerous guy.
Do you know why he came to prison in the first place?
I think it was something to do with violence for him, but it wasn't a big charge. And of course, he kept murdering people when he was away. So he's never going to be released.
So the next one then was the Liberian.
Ferdinand Lieveld. Yeah, he's another one, memorable character that sticks in the memory. He left Liberia because of the war over there. Come over here, big black guy, very dark. he was got a job as a bouncer. Ended up killed someone on the door of a club in the West End. I mean, he ripped this guy with a knife, machete, from here up to his neck, right? Gets life for murder. That was just the start of it for him. He was the one who threw boiling hot oil over a screw in Whitemore. And had 3 trials for it. And got not guilty on it.
What had the screw done to provoke?
Oh, the screw was, he was a bit of a dog in there, Sean. He really was. He was a real target. He used to cause a lot of problems, right? So he's well known, and he picked on the wrong one at the wrong time there, right? Which happens. But the thing about Ferdinand Lavelle, there's many stories about these characters, but here's one that sticks in the mind. Because he stabbed a few of my pals in there and he was really wanted. He was a big target, right? This guy, he used to walk around with a PP9 in a sock down his trousers or whatever. But he used to always have this tissue box in his hand. I was thinking, I even thought, why does this guy always walk around with a tissue box? Of course, he had a knife in there underneath the thing, big knife, right? That was the reason why. But I was in Long Larton, Sean, and I'll never forget it. He's in there in the TV room, so it's TV room, it's kind of bigger than your normal TV rooms in prison. A lot of kind of chairs in there. There was about 8 of us in there. One evening, because he was a bully, this Ferdinand Lavelle, he'd bully people, and the younger ones or the weaker ones, he thought he'd get away with it. And he was bullying this scarce guy, this younger scarce guy. So, everyone is firmed up in them places. You know yourself, they're on the food boat, Sean. The gangs in there, the Londoners, the Scassers, the Manx. You'd stick to your own. They'd protect each other. You eat together. You train together. So, of course, he picked on the wrong one here. So they come, didn't they? Hit squad. I'm sitting in the room, Sean. I hear bang, the door goes. I see them all come in, ballied up, right? 4 of them. Hit squad, right? They got knives, right? One of them's got a little pot of boiling hot oil. So they're coming for Lavelle, right? And of course, he sees it. So they give it to him with the oil, right? And I can remember to see him after, all his jumper and all that had been melted into his hand where they kind of got him here, right? That was just the start of it. Of course, they're on him like a pack of wolves, Sean, right? And he's a dangerous guy, this Lavelle. So he stands up to try and defend himself. But they're too fast for him, Sean. They mean business. They have to take this guy out off the wing, right? So they're on him, all around him, stabbing him, moving around him. And they get him. They get through, they get him. They're too fast, too quick, too many of them, right? And they mean business, right? He goes down on one leg, Sean, and they was just on him. He got stabbed in the neck. He got stabbed about 15 times in there, right? They took him out. And it was crazy. I see this kind of stuff a few times, but I see a hit squad come like that, Sean, in, do that, out, gone, is really something. You're like, you know what I mean? And, he died, twice on the way to hospital, but lived again, this guy. This guy was a guy, he really had 10 lives, this guy.
Did he try and get revenge on those guys when he came back?
Sean, the thing about them days, high security prisons, as you know, when people make a move and you like that, you're not coming back. You're either dead, brown bread, but you're going off the wing, hospital case, and that's because, there's too much stuff going on. You can't be trusted. Whatever it is, you need to go. So, you won't be coming back on the wing. Maybe you catch these people in another prison much later if you live to tell the tale. But, he had a lot of enemies. He was one guy in the system over a lot of years who was notorious, who had a lot of enemies.
Why was he stabbing so many people in the first place?
I'll tell you what it was, Sean, with him. He stabbed a friend of mine, Charlie McGee, who was a really well-known London armed robber, right, with other people. Charlie died in there, of heart disease, right? But he was a very well-known guy. And Ferdinand was in Brixton Unit at the start of his sentence with Charlie McGee, and they kind of fell out, and he stabbed Charlie. Not a good start. So Charlie was a really well-known, respected guy in the system. So this carried all the way through with him, and then it was that tit for tat. And
fell out over what?
I'm not quite sure what it was. Something stupid, Sean. you know, something stupid. He said something or whatever, and they fell out.
Yeah.
But he stabbed Charlie, right? You know, he stabbed Charlie, right? And you know, that was the worst thing to do. You know.
All right, next one. We're going over to Charles Bronson and the story of John Steed.
Another one, memorable one. And of course, look, with Charlie, there's so much in the press about me and Charlie. You know, so many interviews and all that. Of course, I knew Charlie very well. I was in the cages with Charlie. When they built Woodhill Close Supervision Centre, they spent $15 million on that. It was based on Marion in the States that has the most disruptive prisoners that they couldn't manage. Charlie was the 8th selected for that. I was the 9th. You know, it's still there today. A crazy place, right? So Charlie, you know, I was in a few places with Charlie, but it was always segregation or units because of our kind of category and what was going on. This was in Full Sutton, you know, another dispersal up in York. You know, we're down there about 4 months, me and Charlie. But when I first got there, right, next door to me there was another Cat A. You know, you see the red A on the thing, you say, okay, you know, it must be a serious case, this guy. You know, anyway, I'm in this cell, Sean. You know, and you talk to people through the pipe or through the window. So he knocks on the thing, this guy, and he says, hey, you know, this guy talks to me. Now, I'm, you know, kind of guarded. I said, you know, like, who are you, mate? And, you know, you want to find out who these people are, right, before you get into it with them. So he says, I always wanted to be like you. You know, he has a London accent, this guy. What's this guy talking about? Yeah, I always, you know, was a bit of a villain. But then I kind of went on and, like, I killed a girl, you know what I mean, because she didn't obey me, you know, and I was a rapist. I said, you fucking what? That's what I said to him. I couldn't believe, I said, seeing you, I said, you wrong, and I said, look, don't, oh, mine ain't through that pipe, right? Don't bang on that wall. I said, you fucking beast, right? And that was it. That was the first engagement with this guy. Anyway, because you send a line out, you send a line out to get things down, Sean, whatever it was, bit of food, bit of, you know, snack or whatever it was in them days. He kept throwing things over our line to hook the papers in because no one had talked to him because he was a very, very bad case. So, you know, I'm there with Charlie, a few other people were there, and we'd be, you know, we talk for hours. Charlie's got so many stories, right? You know, about more, I'm in stitches, but we talk for hours, really, right? And, more about that, some really exclusive stuff, you know, of course, on September the 2nd, Kingston, London as well. But this went on for a little while, and I kid you not, Sean, I was in my bed one morning, and it must have been about 6 o'clock in the morning, and I hear the screw go to his flat next door, and I hear the radio go, and he says, rigor mortis. So, you know, I hear that rigor mortis, I think, what the fuck's that, rigor mortis? I mean, there's only one thing that can mean. I thought, what's he talking about? So anyway, it's a big activity now. So what he's done, this guy next door, hung himself, Sean. Hung himself, killed himself in the night. Now, this was the M25 rapist. I found out after. His name was John Steed, and he was a big steroid bodybuilding guy who was kidnapping women and doing all this stuff, right? So, you know, that was him, you know, so he killed himself in there. But, you know, Sean, I didn't hear one thing, not one. And them walls was paper thin, Sean. But I didn't hear anything in there, didn't feel nothing in there. And, yeah, so that was another one, story, true story.
What do you think pushed him over the edge to end it?
It's a funny thing, really, you know, and I thought about this because it's a very bad ending, right, for anyone, Sean, right, let's be honest, right? And he was taking a bit of abuse down there, but he'd done 10 years, this guy, really. He wasn't new, he'd done 10 years, this guy. So whatever went on down there with different stuff, what it was, he come to the end of it. But he was a Buddhist, like, apparently, and he picked a certain Buddhist date in the diary to do it. Whatever that means. I mean, I heard that after, right? So there was some synchronicity to that. It was a certain day, and he'd picked that day, right? You know, so
sounds like his karma caught up with him.
Karma.
So next one then, we've had a few people on in relation to the Essex boys, and they've all done very well, the podcasts. You were in the Sky documentary, but you also did personally know Pat Tate, Tony Tucker, Billy Jasper, etc.
Yeah, I knew them. I mean, look, there was a lot of stuff said, obviously, in the Essex murders in the Sky documentary, right? Of course, they cut a lot of it. They interview, what it's like in post, Sean. Some of it I didn't agree with because I know, a bit more, and I knew these guys. I knew Steele, I knew Woombs as well. I was away with both of them, so I kind of knew them in prison. I knew Jasper outside. He was shot in the nut, Jasper. This was going back before Billy Jasper, right? When he was kind of around, you had guys like Billy Gale and all these really old school guys, and there was a lot of, what I will say, Sean, about this, and there's going to be more, of course, I'm going to say, at the event, is there was other people behind this, some of them which are not here now, right? And that's fine, that's all I'm going to say on, on that. Of course, I let sleeping dogs lie. I know so much, Sean, but, I let sleeping dogs lie. What I can say is, look, I knew Pat. I was away with Pat in Whitemore. It's when he left Whitemore after and went out where he got killed, right, about 9 months later or something, 10 months later.
What was he like as a person?
Pat was charismatic, right, in that way. He's a charismatic guy. You get on with him and all this kind of stuff. I got on with him. He was that kind of guy, really, in a way, who it could be a bully sometimes. Not what you would think, but he could be a bully, for sure. And I do notice that, and I do see that, because I've seen it all before, but not with people who couldn't bully or certain faces or stuff like that. I see that part about Pat, but there were some good parts to Pat as well. I knew Tony as well, Tucker, through a lot of different people. And of course, I was hearing these names, and we was wrapped up in a lot of stuff in them days before I went away, and even after, with friends of mine who was involved in the parties and all other stuff that was going on there. So look, what I will say is, Pat, although he was a loose cannon, they was all loose cannons, right? Because of their drugs consumption and all the rest of it, of what they was doing. Tucker was the guy who was the target here. Do you know what I'm saying? And there are reasons for that, right? There's been a lot said. I've seen a lot of people go out there and say stuff and talk stuff that they don't even know what they're talking about, Sean. Put themselves up. For me, if I knew these guys, but don't know people, I don't know them. I know what I know. But I don't embellish, I don't window dress anything. It is what it is. But I can add my piece, what I think, to this, having, known these guys, right? So, big case, a lot going on about it. And, yeah, that's what I can be prepared to say now about that.
Do you think the police, the corrupt Essex police, had a role in the demise of these guys?
Look, absolutely. The police are always in the mix, Sean. They're always there. I've said this before, even when I went to the Old Bailey, I had 3 trials at the Old Bailey. Mike Husey said to me, Stephen, if you've come here for justice, you've come to the wrong place. This is a Queen's Counsel. I mean, I know that anyway. But when he's telling me that, the Queen's Counsel, I mean, there you go, right? Because it's theatre. You've got the Freemasonry thing wrapped up in it. You've got the whole retribution, payback, the financial, implications, right? All of that wrapped up in it, in many ways. Even my sentence, it was even put down before I got it, Sean. They pretty much knew what they were, as they usually do. So it's very much manipulated, and that's just the way it is.
So the next one on the list then, we've got the Mafia Butcher of Alfont.
Franco De Carlo, he was he was known as the Butcher of Alfonte.
Alfonte.
Now, Alfonte then was where the Corleones was, and this was, Toto Reno and all that. These are the big names, right? These guys back in the day. There's a really bad mafia war over there in the 80s, which is where the Corleones come to dominance then, right? Of course, this migrates. It's very different over there now. But he come away from Italy at that time, right back when it was like in the middle of that mafia war, and he travelled around the world. But, he had a castle and all that. And, in Sicily, he was a duke and all this stuff. He had a title. But he was a boss, right? And so they got arrested. They was shipping antiques furniture around the world with loads of kilos of... they got nicked with 40 kilos of whatever it was. They knew they was when they got them. These are made people, right? Sicilian mafia and all that. So there was a few of them nicked. Di Carlo was the main one. Very big name then. Filippo Monteleone. He was a good friend of mine, Philip. So they was, the people under him. But, they used to... At the Bailey, Sean, when they, after the case, when you go downstairs and all that, they'd kiss his hand and all that. It was, all that stuff, right? That honor, respect stuff, really, right? But there's a lot more, about them guys, but
When you say they kissed his hand, do you mean like his co-defendants?
Yeah, co-defendants. Filippo and the other one, because he was the boss. He had the rank, right? So there's a structure there, right? The Italian mafia is a structure, Sean. You know that. So even that was very, very held then, even inside, right? Which was interesting, right? How it was.
Does that status of being an Italian mafia boss get respected by the British prisoners?
That's a good question. I mean, he was in the SSUs a lot, Franco as well, right? I did meet him, obviously. I knew Filippo a lot better, but, yeah, I mean, he was a money man. He had a lot of money. I hear a lot of stories, but, they'd wind him up a little bit here and there as well, Sean, right? As you do in there, right? But he was, respected too.
Have you got an example of a wind-up?
Well, God, they used to put things through his door saying you're going back to Italy and all that.
Yeah.
Getting him at it. Going back to Italy. It's like, go back to Italy then. I mean, what happened to him was they killed his brother over there. They murdered his brother. So it turned, Sean, as these things do, right, an organised crime. It turned against them. And... But so he went over there and he testified against the Italian Prime Minister, Andretti and all that. He was at that level, of mafia collusion. So he'd done a deal with them, saying about, all the mafia collusion, and they brought him back. And of course, he testified. But I remember talking to Filippo about it. Talking, about Franco, Franco and all that. And, even then it's still, it'd be really quiet about it, but you could see he was very old school to the oath. He didn't like it. Do you know what I mean? And it looks bad on him. Like, his life would have been in danger as well, just by the association. What's going on with that guy? Do you know what I mean? But he wouldn't, it'd just be the silence. He'd say, Stephen, he went and he done that. It's he has to do what he has to do. He's kind of made his bed. He's going to have to lay in it. But he wouldn't say any more than that.
Did they try and whack him
over there?
Yeah.
Well, look, of course they are. If they can. I mean, I don't know, exactly how they do the witness protection thing over there in Sicily. But at that level of what you're very marked, right? Whatever he done over there.
So who was the Knightsbridge safety deposit robber?
Oh, Gigi, yeah. Valerio Vici, another one. Sean, there are so many of these characters, right? So many memorable stories. They're very, very historic as well. He was a Knightsbridge safety deposit robber. And, I remember he told me, he said, Steve, when he went in there, they'd done all the groundwork to get in there. When they opened that door and he actually got in there, he had the inside guy. He said, I didn't know if the flying squad was going to be behind it, Steve, or what, but they weren't. So he got in there. He said, Steve, I opened up all the boxes, but he found kilos of Charlie in some of them, Sean. He found kilos of Charlie in some of them, and others he found some really, really bad photos of people. I mean, obviously, right? It's not hard to see, of some prominent people that was holding things in there. And he went home. He said, Steve, I had it all in the bath. All, I forget what it was. It's 27 million or something, like he took from there. And, you know, he told me, you know, there's more stories about Gigi. I mean, I liked Gigi, I really did. But he, flamboyant character, you know, in the Italian kind of a way, obviously, right? But he got deported back to Italy, Valerio, and, you know, some years ago, he was on another meeting with another mafia guy, and there was a shootout with a Carabinieri over there, and he got killed, you know, the two of them. So, you know, Gigi's gone now. He's gone.
Next up is the Brinks Mat Robbers.
Yeah, I mean, Mickey McAvoy and all these guys, I knew them well. Brian Robinson, and you know, they was always good to me. They was very, very held in high regard. I mean, Mickey's passed now, bless him, right, and all that. I don't need to go into anything too deep here.
Could you explain to the viewers what the Brinks Mat robbery was?
Yeah, it was the gold bullion robbery back in the 80s from Heathrow Airport. It was a massive, you know, this went on and it went on. You had Kenny Noye after, of course, you know, he killed the policeman and all that stuff. I knew Kenny as well, quite well, right? You know, Kenny Noye, I was away with Kenny there as well. Brian Perry in that case was quite a thing, right? Because he was, you know, he was part of the bit of work or whatever. You know, he didn't get nicked for it, right? Yeah, or whatever. But, you know, the word on the grapevine, and certainly, right, you know, he'd done some really, really bad stuff, right? You know, to people involved in that, you know, like I said, I'm not going to go into make it too personal here. You know, it's not my way, and I wouldn't, you know, I will never do that about certain things, like I say, right? But of course, Brian Perry, he was murdered in Bermondsey, right? You know, not soon after. You know, there's been quite a few people on that case, right? But you know, he, you know, it was said, right? Obviously, you know, he took a lot of money, other people's money. I don't know whose money he took, obviously, to say the name, right? You know, out of respect, and even his woman, right, and other stuff, right? Say this name out of respect. So, yeah. You know, and Kenny Noye. So, you know, some other stuff there as well. Big case. Yeah. Very, very, very memorable, memorable people, you know, Mickey and all that stuff, you know, well respected, and, yeah.
Next up, we've got the IRA smugglers, including Dermot Gregory. But my first question is, are the IRA considered like a military force in the prison system, something like that?
Sean, look, me coming from Belfast and having that upbringing in the middle of that, of that war over there, I have a much deeper understanding of how that actually translates, right? You know, real time, you know. So the easy answer is, Sean, is one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. You have to remember that. Depends what part of the hill you're born and that you're looking from. It's really as easy as that. You know, you're carrying a lot of historic trauma and, you know, epigenetics even, you know, that's going through people, that it's in there, right? And it's passed down through the generations, this stuff, right? All over the world, it's the same thing with wars and this stuff, right? So they're a military force. There's no question, right? You know, even some of the British Army's guys, you know, I knew, they say, look, these guys was well trained. You know, they knew their stuff. They had all their military powers and all that stuff. So they was well trained, these guys. They was well armed, right? You know, and they was very, very dedicated to what they. I mean, that's a fact, right? You know what I mean? In the prison system in the old days, of course, they had a very rough time. You know, times of the Guildford bombing and all that. You know, that was very bad for them when they started going into the penal system. You know, the British judicial system, for obvious reasons, right? But as time went on, Sean, certainly in the time where I was away, they was a lot more respected and understood. And I have to say, these guys, they always carried themselves impeccably. I mean, you know, these guys, they do, and they was all doing big sentences. You know, 30 years plus was like the norm. Double A and all that, obviously, and all the rest of it. But, you know, I'd never see these guys moaning. I'd see everyone else moaning, Sean, all the time. pretty much. But I'd never see these guys moaning. So, that tells you something, all right? That tells you something, yeah?
Would it be the case that if an individual had a problem with one of the IRA guys, they would be taking on the whole of the IRA, or would it be settled one-on-one?
Oh, there's so many stories. I can remember I knew little Dingus McGee.
Thanks for watching our podcast. This is a word from our sponsor, Shopify. I feel like I'm missing out because everyone is starting a side hustle or their own business these days. And you know what they're hearing a lot? That's the sound of another sale on Shopify, the all-in-one commerce platform to start, run, and grow your business. Shopify is the commerce platform revolutionizing millions of businesses worldwide. Whether you're selling books or events like us, Shopify simplifies selling online and in person so you can successfully grow your business. Shopify covers all your sales channels, from a shop-front-ready POS system to its all-in-one e-commerce platform. Shopify even gets you selling across social media marketplaces like Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Full of the industry-leading tools ready to ignite your growth, Shopify gives you complete control over your business and your brand without learning new skills in design or coding. And thanks to 24/7 help and with an extensive business course library, Shopify is ready to support your success every step of the way. Look, there's so many options out there to expand your business these days. And what's lovely about Shopify is that no matter how big you want to grow, Shopify will be there to empower you with the confidence and control to take your business to the next level. It's time to get serious about selling and get Shopify today. This is Possibility, powered by Shopify. Sign up for a £1 per month trial period at shopify.co.uk/Sean, SHAUN, all lowercase. Go to shopify.co.uk/Sean to take your business to the next level today. Shopify.co.uk/Sean. That's the word from our sponsor. Thanks for watching. Link in description. Back to the podcast.
They escaped from the Crumlin Road prison, shot their way out of there.
Way out of the prison?
Shot their way out.
How did they get guns in?
Oh, that's another story. But they got them in there, right? It's a famous escape, this. They shot their way out of the Crumlin Road prison. Dingus McGee, he was also on a siege where they killed a SAS captain. I mean, he was one of the top most wanted, Dingus McGee. Only a little small guy, Sean. Not a big guy. Little small guy, right? And, I can remember him full Sutton. And he was kind of unassuming as well. You wouldn't know who he was, Sean. He was one of them, right? Small guy, not unassuming. You wouldn't know who this guy was. And I remember a black guy, I forget where it was down in the education or something. He dug Dingus out. He didn't know who he was dealing with, right? Who he was talking to, who Dingus was. So he said something to Dingus. Yeah, that's what he said to him. He said, you lot think you're fucking gangsters and all that. Dingus just said to him, I'll gangster you. And just walked away from him. But that guy, I'm telling you, when he found out exactly just who he was talking to and what he was saying, he had to go back and, beg them for his life and his lungs back. It's as simple as that. Because, Sean, these guys, look, they're not gangsters. Gangsters to them are a small thing. Gangsters to them are a small thing. They're on a different... they're revolutionaries, freedom fighters. I mean, they actually police against gangsters back home with this thing. Gangsters don't mean anything to that kind of mindset when you're embroiled in a 800-year war that's been going on with an empire, as it was at the time. A gangster's a small thing. This has to be said, like the mindset of just how this translates. But, there's a story. Yeah.
So we're talking about the most dangerous individuals. Would you classify the IRA as the most dangerous organisation in the UK prison system?
Look, my learning, Sean, on dangerousness is there are many people that are dangerous, You put them in the wrong corner. I tend to see it more in the translation of violence. Most people, majority of people, are only violent when they're backed into a corner or they have to use violence. But if they're violent people, of course they can use violence like that, right? There's no worries. It's a tool to be used, right? But then you've got just your smaller kind of 10%, 15% who really thrive on the violence. I mean, they get a buzz out of it. They go looking for it, and that's a drug to them. This is a different kind of violence. So it depends where you're... one thing I learned, Sean, obviously, you know yourself when you're in them places, the big, the this, the that, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything, all right? You know, I've seen the skinniest, smallest, little unassuming guy, as we've said earlier, be the most dangerous guy out of everyone. I mean, you learn that quickly in them places, all right? You know?
So did we talk about Dermot Gregory?
Look, Dermot, you know, I'd many times with Dermot, and this was when I'd come out, you know, I got arrested again with my brother, you know, for a firearm, all right? And they was, you know, on us again. This was before my transformation, but it was about, you know, protection then, really, not a thing. But anyway, so I was back cat ages for a little bit, back in the Bailey, right, you know, and Dermot was in there. They was the guys who, you know, had smuggled all the arms, you know, for the IRA then from South America. But you know, you had some real characters in the Cat A suite in the Bailey then. You know, you had the Dome Robbers I was in there with, very good friends of mine. A lot of them.
What have they done?
They've done the diamond robbery from the Millennium Dome, right? Massive case, like, you know, I mean, all these names are known, obviously. Ray Benson, Aldo Cherokee, you know, Billy, all of them guys, and you know, they was characters. They really was. They was good guys. I mean, they got a massive sentence for that. Really, what they got for that? Yeah, it was a big case and all the rest of it, but they didn't use any firearms or anything like that. So you see the kind of case sentence they was given for that. So yeah, you know, a lot more great stories about, you know, a lot of these memorable characters in the appropriate way, of course, and you know, there'll be more on the tour September 2nd, Sean.
What about the notorious Australian bank robber escapologist Ian Steele?
Ian Steele. There's a name, another one. Ian Steele was a piece of work, Sean, really. You know, I was in Hull Special Unit. You know, I'd done so much solitary, about 5 years solitary, and I was really going at it with the, you know, the screws in and all that stuff. And, you know, there was a lot of stuff going on. A lot of the gang stuff was going on as well. So we was in that unit, you know, again going through there, and he was in there. You know, he'd come out of the SSUs in Whitemore and all that. He was an escapologist. He was a very notorious, you know, Australian bank robber, but he'd killed a few people as well. He was a nasty bit of work. Even his old woman he killed, Sean, right? I mean, he'd killed a lot of people. You know, he was jacking people up and killing them with heroin, trying to say that, they are, but he was killing them, right? Nasty bit of work. Anyway, and he was a strange guy as well. So anyway, he tried them kind of places, they're quite, well, they're obviously very serious because of the people that's in there. So sometimes there can be a real paranoia in the air. And of course, you're watching every little slight and all. It all gets blown out of proportion, Sean, and magnified, right? In them places, right? And he was a very unwell, paranoid guy. Like, he's one of them guys you have to watch, right? So, you know, he said something to me. It had been going this way a little bit for a few days, you know, a week or so, and he come to an end. He said something to me up on the Two's Landing in the thing. And a really good friend of mine who was there, there's only about 6 of us on this unit at the time, you know, these are high security units, only about 6-7 of us selected. There's not big loads of people on this wing, so you're really in each other's pockets there, which makes it worse, Sean, right? It can get really heavy in there, right? Frankie Burley was there from Leeds. Real quality guy. I mean, Frank, sadly, he was to be released after, was involved in a lot of gang wars up in Leeds. He was murdered too, right? Sadly, Frank was lost. There was about 4, 5, 6 people murdered up there around that time, you know, when this happened. And Frank was one of them, right? And Frank was standing there, and he said something this Ian Steele to me. And we was really fit then, Sean. Really fit, really thing in our primes, you know what I mean? And I looked at Frank, and Frank looked at me, you know, and he nodded to say, let's do him, right? So, we've done him, the pair of us, up in the... like, we've done him, give him a good ironing up on top of the thing, right? I mean, he needed a good ironing, this guy. It's a language he's going to understand at the time, Sean. Because he was, pushing it and he was too much, right? There's no other way to go with these guys because they'll get a big knife and come and kill you in your bed or something. You have to watch them, right? They're not. So anyway, bell goes, screws comes, all the rest of it. And of course he's taken, we weren't taken because there's two of us against him. So, he's a troublemaker, which he was. So they took him, and but I see something a little while ago. He was deported back to Australia. He's like a very big name over there. Like you had that Chopper Reed and all that stuff. He wasn't like, but he was, that kind of category over there to them, Sean. And he's come back.
You said he was an escapologist. Where did he escape from?
It escaped from a few prisons. I'm not exactly sure 100% what it was, but one of them was a secure prison, and it escaped. So they put him in the SSUs, Sean. Exceptional risk, all of that together. You know what they're like. So they put him in the SSUs. He was in the SSUs for a long time, and then of course he come from there to us in the other unit, and that was double A. As well where we was then.
Right. So we've got Said the Paris and the Chic Metro bomber.
Saeed, yeah. This is another crazy one because it's like a paradox, Sean. There's so many paradoxes in life, right? But with some of these guys, and this one threw me completely. I mean, I don't know about the prison system how it is now. I hear things. I've been out of that life, of course, transformed my life, changed my life, Sean, many years now, right? But of course, I hear things, and I've said like the Muslim kind of influence in there now is really influential above everything else. This is what I hear, right? But back then in the day, this was just after 9/11 and all these kind of times, right? When it was very, very heavy what was going on before all the major wars started, right? But this guy, Saeed, I was a Cat A, I was on the landing with these guys. This wasn't a unit, this was Belmarsh. So I'm on a unit with these guys, and of course you're stuck there with these guys. You get to know these guys more than your own family, because you can't go anywhere, Sean. You're like stuck there, right? And so there's loads of them on the landing, all the top ones, right? The Al Qaeda and all that. And this guy, Saeed, another guy, unassuming, really, really soft, really gentle guy and all that. Virgin, Sean, and all that stuff. He was one of them ones who could recite the Quran verse by verse. There's a name for it. But he was accused of the Paris Metro bombings, right? And he was in there. But it was unbelievable with this guy because he'd been away already 2 years without a charge, without a trial, without anything, Sean. No charge, no nothing, right? Do you know what I mean? And it was crazy because I'd look at these guys, right, and I'd think, but they'd be so unassuming and quiet and, holy warriors, they think they are, Sean. And I used to think to myself, because I'd seen all types of violence in my life, Sean, right, all the time, from every angle, every which way to skin a cat, but I'd never actually experienced that kind of violence where it seems the opposite of that. But there is such a penchant for mass violence there that it's off the scale.
Did a lot of people die in the Paris?
Yeah, there was all kinds of, there was all kinds of stuff went on. There were suicide bombings, there were shootings and all that went over there too, right? As well as, but so I just thought of the mindset, Sean, of it all, right? And it was just, that really, that was something that made me think.
How did the other prisoners treat him?
Look, there was a big gang of them on there, Sean. They had a big gang of them on there. There was another one on there, a sheik. He was like Osama bin Laden's, like one of his right-hand men was on there. And he was like the big guy, the sheik, and they was all around him. But there was about 25 strong of them lot together. They was all on the wing there. So they was left alone. They'd done their own thing, and they kind of done their own thing on there.
So would they have the same classification of an organisation in the prison system not to mess with as the IRA?
Yeah, I'd say so in a way. I mean, it's a very serious group for obvious reasons. You know, and they're all together. A lot of notoriety there, obviously, right? Massive cases. But for me, it wasn't that. I was around these kind of cases all the time. It was the actual people and how that translated real time, you know, because you're there with them. You know, and like I said, Sean, I'd seen every kind of violence. I'd been a part of so much violence in my life, right? So I know what that's about. But I hadn't seen that brand of violence before and how that translated. And it was different, you know, I have to say. But I knew that it was there, of course. Do you know what I'm saying? We have the evidence of stuff that's happening in the name of, you know, whatever. But again, so unassuming, so very like sweet, measured, gentle to interact with. It kind of threw me, Sean, right? It threw me completely for a while. Because you study people, don't you? In there, you can't help like study people in there, you know.
I met one of Saddam Hussein's pilots, and he was so educated and polite and mal-mannered, and this was in Max in America, and just came across as a lovely guy.
Yeah, Sean, people are people, you know. This is the one thing, right? But there are other parts to some people, Sean, aren't there? You know.
I've watched a movie about the Iranian embassy. And visiting London, we actually parked outside it last year. I got to see it. And it's quite an action-packed movie based on real events. And when the guys, like when the hostages came out, didn't some of the terrorists mingle into them and try and escape through that?
Well, I knew Fozzie. Fozzie was the Najad. He was the only one left alive in that. I mean, that was another big, massive, historic thing on the SAS, you know, the Iranian siege, right? And but he told me, again, you know, I knew him well. He said, Steve, look, you know, of course, we're talking about it all in a day. I said, well, you know, like you're going in there in a day. What was the deal there then? So he said, Steve, he said, look, he said, the boss who was there, like the boss of them, you know, he said, we actually had a bottle of whiskey that morning. So that's a great start for you guys, right? But they had a bottle of whiskey right in the morning. But he said that the kind of leader who was the leader of them, he was kind of driving it, and he kind of drove it all, you know, really. And he wasn't going to relent at all, you know. And they went in there the way they went in there. Obviously, look, you know, they was all, you know, the SAS went in there, ironed them all out. It was all killed in there. He was the last one left alive. But he said, Steve, you know, what I'd done, he said, I could see what was going to happen. And I said to him not to kill the guy, the diplomat. But they done it anyway. And they slung him out. And of course, now we're talking. Now we're going to go in there and we're going to end this thing, right? He kind of said, but he said, Steve, when they come in there and all that, and then, you know, all the shooting and the flashbangs and all that stuff, he said, I knew all the media was out there. The world's media was watching everything. He said, so I went in with the hostages. But he said, when I went out and I got out, he said, I was just outside. All the cameras could see me. But when the SAS realised who I was, they tried to pull me back in to nut me. He says, it was only because I got out like that, because they wanted a clean sheet in there. He says, that's what saved my life. He says, because the world's media was there. But they said even they could see it. They tried to drag him back in there because they realised we're not going to be able to get away with that, right? So that saved his life. There's a lot more there too as well, but there's just a little bit about Fozzie.
You said that in part one there was some stories you left out about your own story from, you know, East London, 17-year sentence, etc. What were those stories you wanted to tell us today?
You know, there's so many, Sean, you know. I'm gonna really say more, you know, September the 2nd. But, you know, I had people I grew up with, Sean, I knew for 25 years, who set me up, you know, to get me killed, right? Do you know what I mean? That's the thing about organised crime, you know, and it's not when you're deep in it to that extent. It's not that even we didn't have all that history together, or even they cared about me and we'd, you know, done so much together. But if it turns against you in a certain way, and then the pragmatic decision is, look, it's better, you know, we're going to wipe this and get this out of the way for whatever reason, because other people are threatened or they feel threatened or whatever. Sometimes it's just by association, by knowing other people, and they think, well, if we take him out, he's got to go as well because we won't be able to sleep at night. You know, so you have to get you killed. That's just the way it is, right? It's an antithetical, pragmatic, decision, right? So, you know, there's a lot of stuff about that.
How did you catch wind of that?
Well, you know, I was in a club one night, the way in Oxton, over by Oxton, and under the arches there in East London. And I remember I'd gone there that night. You know, I'd go in and out of there, right, you know, and I went in there that night. But, you know, I can remember when I was in there, you know, I knew a lot of people, Kingsland Road it's on, just over the back of Bethnal Green there where I was. So I always know a lot of people to be getting, you know, in and out of there, right? But I remember someone in there that night, they buzzed into me and they spilt a load of drink on me, thing, Sean, and that kind of annoyed me a little bit. But that made me leave a bit earlier and get off. I thought, you know, and I got off. But about half an hour later, after I'd left, you know, I knew the guys on the door and all that. And there was a little back way in there where you could go in there, right? You know, three people turned up, ballied, like with guns looking for me. You know, went in there. I just missed them, Sean. Wow. Now, this is, you know, I kid you not, true story. And this is typical of kind of organised crime, because how this translated after, this wasn't even really something that I'd done. It was about a deal that had gone really, really wrong, right? And it was by association of other people I knew. I didn't know what they was going to do. I had no, you know, I wouldn't have put them into it. And then that was the comeuppance from that, right? They thought I'm involved in it, but I weren't. But I'll tell you what happened with that in the end. It went on and on. It was, you know, getting very, very serious indeed, right? Of course. And so we called on a meet with these, right? Down in West London, right? I'll never forget it, right? It was down in Willesden Lane, down in West London, out of the East End. So we thought we'd get a neutral place. So I got another guy who was attached to the other people. They'd lost a lot of money, these people, on a big deal, right? And it had gone wrong and they'd been robbed. So now they're going back. They're saying, you know, who's responsible for this? We're not having it, right? And of course, we was just by association in it. So they want a body, Sean. So, you know, we had to trace it back and get someone else who knew the other people and had to stand for them because they needed to explain themselves, right? And I'll never forget it, Sean, right? You know, it was a black guy, right? So I go down to Willesden Lane. You know, there's three of us, right? We're on the street. It's a busy street where we're doing it, right? You know, I've got the other guy there who says, right, where's this guy? Where's this guy? We're trying to put this to bed, everything, right? And I'm phoning this black guy, but I'm thinking to myself, is this guy going to turn up? I mean, he's going to turn up to this, right? Or is he just like talking? So we waited. And, you know, I kid you not, right, Sean, about half an hour later, this flash black guy turns up in a silk shirt with a bird. I thought, are you sure? I thought to myself, these people, and thought you turn up like these people, do you know what I mean? They're not going to be impressed. But I said to the guy, I said, do you go? You know, that's the guy who knows the other guy. There's your body, simple. You deal with him, right? I'm done, right? We're done. That shows we ain't been manipulating this. This ain't us who's been doing any setting up here. There's your guy, you go talk to him, you deal with him, right? There's your body, right? And and after that, Sean, we was outside this little Prada shops and there was little benches. But as soon as that guy come and they got their body, there was 3 or 4 people that was sitting down around us. I didn't even know who they was. And they was reading papers. And they got up, all of them, another car come, jumped in the car and went. So they're the ones that's tooled up, right? All these kind of things, Sean, you know. A lot of stories like that. That's just one.
How did you get in the mix in the first place? You said by association. Had you introduced someone to someone or something?
Well, I knew a family in the East End who obviously they come to me and said, Steve, look, we need so-and-so and so. Could you put us into someone? Now, I knew these people, right? And they knew me. It wasn't great friends of mine or anything, but everyone knows everyone, right? And of course, you've got a good name. I said, yeah. Just in an offhand way about that. I said, yeah, I know someone. I said, look, I'll get someone into you. And of course, because it come through my name, they trusted it. But who it went to someone else. These third party. It was a big drugs deal, Sean. Nothing to do with me. Someone else has got involved in it. Right, they've done some trade in a squat. One of them quick turnaround moves, sleight of hand, and of course they pulled a big stroke. They got robbed of people, a lot of money. Of course they're thinking, right, we've been had here, right? So of course the first person they're going to come back to me, and this was like in the East End. Of course I'm not going to have it how he was there. So straight away we're at loggerheads with that. But that's just one typical example.
So it was just an introduction. You hadn't co-signed.
No.
And that's just how easy. I mean, there was nothing even in it for you, was there?
Sean, this is the thing. Do
you
know
how
what?
Insane that is.
Sean, it's crazy, Sean.
Yeah.
I didn't even earn a tenner out of that. I swear to God. And you know how these things are, Sean. I'm actually trying to. This is why. Look, sometimes when you try and help people, especially in the wrong way, you get fucked. You don't do it. This was one of these things, Sean, right? But, there you go. You live and learn, and, this was the life then. That's just one example. There are many. There are a lot of other, other stuff, and, I'm looking forward to, seeing everyone in Kingston. Tickets are selling really, really fast, and we've got a really good evening there for everyone. Singers, everything. There's a lot of really good stuff. It's a VIP red carpet event, Sean, and I'm really looking forward to meeting everyone there.
And you've got your new book out.
Yeah, the 9 laws of transformation. Now, Sean, look, we had a chat about this before. I have that big history, right, as you know, bona fide history. I was released as a Cat A. Sean, after 12 years, right? I played by the rules of that life. But when I come out of that, I'd seen through that life. I wasn't beholden to anyone, Sean. And the ones who play by the rules, they don't get anything. It's like me. They get all the hard stuff. You don't get anything. There's other people who are out there meant to be this and that. They're having 10, 20-year runs. How is it possible? We know how that goes too. But look, that's that life, right? It's another life to me. So when I come out, look, I changed my life. I knew I had to be the best that I could be. I had to change everything, Sean. People, places, and things. I left the old life, and all of the secrets that I knew, I let sleeping dogs lie, as I always will do until the very end, all right? Talk about everything, but there are things that I will never talk about. That life is over, right? And but I've went on. I become an entrepreneur, as we're in the studio today here.
Beautiful studio.
Our studio, Sean. It's really good to have you. I love your work too. This is my third book, of course. My first book, The Monkey Puzzle Tree, is optioned to be a major film. I'll tell you a little bit about that as well. The Monkey Puzzle Tree. It's been such a navigation with such a project like that, obviously, because of the money involved in different stuff. Of course, we had the COVID and different stuff, but a bit of an exclusive. We're working, obviously, we're advanced and everything with the people we're working with in LA, but they're actually turning that into a trilogy because there is so much content in there. I mean, it's more suited to be a TV series, really. I mean, we knew that. But commercially, when the big boys step in, of course, it's a different game. It needs to be a certain way. So, we're in the middle of writing, and chopping that up. It's pretty much done. And then, of course, the LA writers' strike has come, right? It's still going on now. We do a lot of work with them guys over there. That's where the film is, but we're very advanced there now. So the Monkey Puzzle Tree, and that's the update on that. In this book, The 9 Laws of Transformation, I'm very proud of, Sean. I have to say, I touched a little bit on that. The reason being is it's going to be a book like Robert, in the fashion of Robert Greene, 48 Laws of Power, Covey's, the seven habits of successful people, really, Because, look, I beat addiction. I was nutted off, Sean, right? I come through that. All the behavioural problems, the criminality. I mean, we can go on and on and on, Sean. But, I'm living history, of overcoming that, circumventing that, obviously. I've got the resilience code there, which is an educational model I'm really proud of, which is my personal brand. Of course, I have, broadcasters and on some of the world's biggest platforms. I've been doing this a long time. You Google, there's a lot of information there. You can be there for weeks, months looking at it, Sean. The same as yourself. So I've been doing this for a while, and this is really, with all the achievement and different stuff, Sean, the stuff that really makes my heart sing is, I get so much messages and different things from people who's going through the things I was going through, and they say to me, "Oh, Steve, I was really in a dark place. I just, I'm really snookered with this. Oh, it's this and that. But, if you can do it, I can do it. You've really given me some brightness for a new day, this stuff, Sean. I've been achieving a lot of stuff for a lot of time. It's great. I'm very grateful, very humble person, right? Of course I am. I work very hard for this stuff, same as yourself. But it doesn't necessarily make my heart smile, Sean, in them ways, right? Because this is a legacy. It's about changing lives. It's about passing the message. It's about being the real deal. It's about improving as many lives as possible. This is something tangible that it's above and beyond me. I'm just a conduit, right? I'm privileged, and enough to be here, to even be alive, Sean, where really, we shouldn't be here. So, I take that serious. And the 9 laws of transformation, it really goes into that. You've got all your really technical stuff, but of course I'm translating that in a simple way with all the techniques and everything to really help people rapidly transform their life. And we all need to transform our lives, Sean. No matter what our history, what our level, what our age, what our culture, where we're from, any of this stuff. That's what life's about. So, it's a wonderful book. I'm immensely proud of it. I mean, I'm going on Sky. There's so much media happening on the way up to this tour, but I'm actually booked as well on Sky breakfast show in the studio on the 24th of August. So that's prime time. So, I've, and a lot more other stuff. But there's just one that's coming up before the tour. That's going to be focused on the book and on the tour. And, Sean, so, we're trying. We're really pushing forward with the good stuff, not just the other stuff, but we want to change our pasts and we want to live beautiful lives and we want to help others to lift their life too. And this has to be said because it's part of what the tour is about. There's all this stuff, the exclusive stuff, stories that people want to hear, but there's a lot of the really elevated content as well to really help them with so much opportunities and and other stuff involved in what we're going to be doing in London, Kingston, 2nd of September. Sure.
And I will be there as well, so please come and see us. Link is in the description box. All Stephen's links are in the description box. Congratulations, man. You've come so far. Is there any stories I've missed out or anything else you'd like to say?
There's so many stories, Sean. We could sit here for forever and talk, me and you, right? And thanks for the interview. Obviously, going to be great to have you there. The last one, of course, was when we were there with our friend Michael Francis.
Yeah,
dear old Michael, he was over there. It's the same promotions as well. Who's doing this tour with me? Stargate Entertainment. So there'll be the links there, but they're doing a wonderful job. They're a great partner, and you've got wonderful stuff coming too, Sean. So I'm a big supporter of all the great work that you're doing too, my brother.
All right, cheers, Stephen. Thanks very much. Yeah, brilliant, brother. Well done. Yeah. Chet Sandhu's book is finally available worldwide on Amazon. He's one of our most viral podcast guests ever. The book is called Self-Made, Dues Paid, an Asian kid who became an international drug smuggling gangster. you want to read some of the back, Jen?
Oh, yeah, go the blurb. In 1999, Chet Sandu was arrested at gunpoint in Alicante Airport for smuggling the largest quantity of illicit pharmaceutical drugs in Spanish history. Interesting. Overnight, he went from living in the shadows of the Costa del Crime's underworld to being labelled a notorious supervillain in the international press. Incarcerated alongside murderers, rapists, and terrorists in a super maximum security wing. He had to navigate a world of murderous knife fights, prison breaks, drug taking, and high-stake power plays. Good bedtime read.
In Self-Made Jews Paid learn how a British-born Asian kid with disabilities, raised in a corner shop, emerged as a protector of his family from racist thieves and hooligans. Be prepared to be entertained, informed and offended by Chet's no-holes-barred account of raves, drugs, bodybuilding, entering the fashion industry. Did you know that he dated Kylie Minogue and Naomi Campbell?
Latest interview.
Working the doors and life in one of the world's deadliest places to be incarcerated. If you enjoyed Chet's podcast series with us, there's a lot more detail in the book. Check it out. Worldwide on Amazon, ebook, paperback, and audiobook.
I kill you! A knife and a cosh and all that, like, yeah! And he's looking at me, and we went white, and then he was gone, like.
What is it about a tough guy that fascinates us?
Imagine I'm hearing that, I'm thinking I'm not going down today. If I go down today, yeah, I'm dead.
We're bringing you the very best of our interviews with Britain's hardest men.
They made the mistake of bringing billy clubs, iron bars, and knives to a gunfight.
No Rules Fighter Bash, Stephen the Devil French, and my best friend, Wild Man. Over 2 hours of terrifying tales of punch-ups, stabbings.
That's what happens in that world. You leave people long enough, they get enough rope train themselves.
Attempted murders and exceptional all-round hardness. This film is available to rent or own on Amazon or Vimeo. Plus, the first 30 customers to order this film get a 30% discount on any Vimeo order. Click the link below to see if you're one of the lucky ones. This film will drop your jaw like a punch from the hard men we talk to. So why not order your copy today?